I'm David Haug, Superintendent of Jefferson R-VII. We're going to talk about thanks for joining us on our lunch shifts here and kind of some thoughts and theories, 612, why we've done what we're doing. Before we get into that, though, two things. Number one, we're just old enough at this table. We were just talking about the hype videos, and we were just happy to get our names called at the game.
Absolutely.
And these videos that Stevie does are fantastic, and she's got some little clips of doing touchdown moves, and we're just like, holy cow. We were just happy to get our names called. Second thing is this. We're going to talk about the lunch shifts and kind of our thoughts on how it helps instruction, but really we can't do what we do without our Donica Wagner and her lunch shift crews are amazing at all the buildings, Platten, Telegraph, Danby, and the high school. Just the quality of service, quality of food for our kids. If your child isn't eating in the lunchroom, maybe just try to sample, maybe let them try something one day just to try it out because the quality of food and their presentation's been amazing. And so give them a chance if you get an opportunity. And also, too, in your building, kind of going through the antiquated equipment last year. And it's in another session about what we've done over the last year on the other podcast, but I think we're starting to see the benefits of that. Serving lines came out because they were
Original.
Really old.
They were the original.
Old. Yeah. They weren't working. They hadn't been working for years, so those were replaced, and it's actually a little bit cleaner in there. So how's that going in general with the kids?
Great. It's quite a setup they've got in there now. The kids can move right through. It's a much smoother process. I think it works well for the students, and the lunch staff seems to really.
I think they I know my daughter just left the middle school and went to the high school, and I said, because she ate lunch here every day. So you're going to miss out on this, and I think the choices are.
Oh, that's absolutely they do. It's a huge undertaking that they do every day, and they take their time, make sure they're picking food that the kids enjoy and like. And our sixth graders, they say our favorite thing is switching classes and lunch. That's their favorite thing about middle school.
It kind of goes back to the whole scoreboard thing earlier with the video. We got what we got, It didn't get many choices like these guys get. It's really a fantastic job what they do. So I will go back to, we kind of saw a growth in our high school of the population from about 280 around 2017, yes. 2018 to 320. And I think it was around 2019 we actually piloted going, because the model that we had over there when this high school was original, the amount of seats and the tables, we weren't going to be able to make it. Mm-hmm. And so I actually ran a pilot of 3 lunch shifts. And then about that time, too, just kind of on a whim, Mr. Johnson had called me. He says, hey, I was up here at Lindbergh for a presentation. They talked about 1 lunch shift. And then Mr. Schaefer caught me, too, and he said, Windsor's doing this. So we have to give Windsor and Lindbergh a lot of props on this. This wasn't our concept, but started looking at the 1 lunch shift concept around 2019. We were looking at doing it for the fall of 2020, but then we had COVID. So our lunch shifts, just to survive that, changed. And then there was a change in me moving over here and you coming in. So we took a hard look at that 1 lunch shift. I'm just going to kind of get right to the point. What are the benefits instructionally to having the 1 lunch shift?
Yeah, we've seen quite a few benefits. It allows our students to decompress a little bit, as well as our teaching staff. We really have advisory right before lunch, and we have kind of switched up advisory a little bit this year to have a focus on the My Story program and that ICAP process, but allows our students to have 20 minutes of tutoring opportunities right before lunch, or just to decompress a little bit and also work on that My Story process. And then they go into lunch and they have right around a 30-minute lunch shift. Mm-hmm. So it gives them an hour. And instructionally, it's helped out our teachers. Again, they're able to decompress during that lunch shift. They're able to speak a little bit, and it kind of revives them a little bit for the remainder of that school day. And I think that it's been a huge asset for us since we started 3 years ago. We've also seen a decrease in discipline referrals in the afternoon, and kind of breaking down that data and things like that. So, and that's something that we were able to get from Windsor. Talking to them at one of our River Summit PD sessions roughly around 3.5 years ago, and just talked to their principal at that time, Mr. Nauke, and getting that information, and he said that they had seen that same thing.
Kind of drawn from my personal experience, it's like you start the year with the lunch shifts, and one of the hot topics, specifically maybe more for freshmen and some sophomores, is they really desire that lunchtime with their friends.
Yes.
And a lot of requests built on that. So that was another avenue of just, you didn't have to deal with that anymore. And I think it's a healthy thing. Everybody gets to go to lunch together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really neat to see our kids kind of utilize some time management skills because, it is a longer line at the beginning of lunch shift, and our food service staff, as you were talking about earlier, are just amazing. They've done an amazing job of getting kids through the lines and serving a great product. But they also allow our kids to, and our kids are allowed, I should say, to, if they want to just wait until the line kind of gets shorter, they can talk with their friends during that time, and they can jump in the line right at the end. And we're I remember whenever you'd sit there kind of with a stopwatch, whenever I was an AD, and then as a teacher as well, just to see, how we were moving through the line, how much time kids had to eat, and I do the same thing, and I don't do anymore because our last kid goes to the line, they have 22, 23 minutes to eat.
Yes.
Which is a huge deal. It's very, very important. And again, like they get to socialize with their friends.
Yeah, I'd pull out an old track stop.
Yeah.
Maybe I had to come borrow one of yours. I'm probably too old. Mine was probably the one that went around like that.
Yeah.
But, I do remember just kind of that time we went to that 3 lunch shift to model that. What we were looking at doing was bringing just seniors down in the middle, giving them their lunch shift because we wouldn't have to use that supervision part of it. But I was like, man, I don't think people understand how taxing the lunch is on your schedule, on your faculty, on scheduling, on everything you're trying to do. But I will say this about the lunch crew over there that cooks. So I went over the other day to grab lunch, and I got to talking to somebody in the lobby. And I got there, I think you guys start serving around 11:24.
Yep.
And I kind of looked down at my watch, or I don't have a watch, but my phone. I was like, I need to get something to eat. And they were done. It was like 11:40.
Yep.
The line was done. They were putting things up. I'm like, wow, it's really an efficient process.
Yeah.
It's really gone very well over there.
Yeah, it's Robin and Cheryl and Leanne have done an exceptional job, and it's like a well-oiled machine right now. And we had it was new 3 years ago, and had a couple hiccups here and there. But once they understood the process, and the kids, again from a time management standpoint, understood, hey, I now have 22 to, some of them have 30 minutes to eat, and then they can go to the gym, or they can stay in the cafeteria or the foyer area and communicate with their friends, which is very important in today's society. They really, really enjoy it.
So as I kind of segue into Mr. Horn's situation here, one of the things, if you've not seen a lunch shift, is that we actually bought an extra set of tables 3 years ago, and they can actually come out into the lobby. So yes, it's a little bit of work getting it done, but the nice thing is that I felt it's that time period, that's it, you're done. Yes. You don't have to, 40 minutes later start another lunch shift to get everybody in, and you're done with it for the day. And I think it's a great deal. But I think the important thing is, for me, was suddenly when you look at that master schedule, 100% of the staff we have contracted over there, for the 6 of the 7 hours they are contracted to teach, are completely involved in instruction. They do not have to be used to supervise a lunch. And I think, Mr. Horn, you're kind of experiencing the same thing.
Yes.
So kind of describe, you came to me last year, I think you had spoken to Mr. Rugley, kind of looking at some different ideas. Kind of what your lunch shift looks like.
So ours in the past was, we just simply had 3 lunch shifts, and they were by grade level, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I think in some ways that makes sense. We try to separate specifically 6th and 8th grade as much as we can within the building, just for a lot of reasons. But
more than just.
But we try to as much as we can, and so it made sense in that sense. When we had it that way, we had a teacher that was assigned to lunch duty every day. So that specific teacher, they weren't assigned to a class period. Instead, they were in the cafeteria for that time. Did talk to Mr. Rugley, spoke with you kind of going into this year, and wanted to look at, for one, that was a very taxing system on our staff. The food services staff, they were back-to-back lunch shifts with no time, with the way the schedule was, there was no way to build time between them. So we would have to end the lunch shift, and then immediately the other group was leaving as the new group was coming in. It's also difficult on our custodial staff who's trying to wipe down tables and prepare for the next lunch shift. So it was very taxing on our staff, not to mention, like I said, the teacher we were pulling from instruction time to be in the cafeteria. But most importantly, academically, it made no sense for us to do it that way. With having 6th, 7th, and 8th grade lunch, that required our 7th graders in the past. They would go to class for 26 minutes. The bell would ring, and they would then take a break from class, come eat lunch for 26 minutes, and then the bell would ring, and then they would head back to class for their last 26 minutes of their 5th hour.
And inevitably in small school schedules, you can't get around the fact that you had to have one of the core content classes in there.
Exactly.
And really any class, you can't get in a flow on a daily basis.
By the time they got started, the kids start watching the clock, and so does the teacher. 5 minutes before they know the lunch bell's getting ready to ring, it's time. We're going to start wrapping things up, and so you're losing 5 minutes before. I would say after lunch, the kids kind of trickle back into the classroom. They're trying to get settled in. The teacher's trying to get them back on task. I'd say you're losing another 5 to 10 minutes there, and you're losing 15 minutes every day of a 50-minute class period. It just academically was a struggle, especially when you look at math, things like that, or on a day of a test. These poor, the students, if you're taking a test and you got to stop what you're doing, go eat lunch, and then come back and try to refocus. So academically, it just didn't make a lot of sense at that time. So we looked at options. First thing we did look at one lunch, but facility-wise, for one, we can't support that in this building. But then also, like I said, then you've got 6th graders in with 7th and 8th, and it just
then supervision, and you have to have that extended time.
There's a lot of different factors in there, and it just didn't. I just don't think it's going to quite work into the middle school schedule at this time. But so what made the most sense to us was look at going to 2 lunch shifts, and I really feel like it's been great. Honestly, we weren't sure how it was going to look. We now have 6th grade eating with half of our 7th graders, and then there's a 30-minute break, and then the second lunch shift begins, and it's the remaining 7th graders eat with our 8th graders, and it's really slowed everything down. It's allowed us to kind of, everybody, like Alex said, everybody kind of decompress. They can come eat their lunch. They take their time. We get them back to class. The food services staff can kind of catch their breath, get ready for the next group. Custodial staff prepare. And then, like you mentioned earlier, our teaching staff is no longer assigned to a supervision, which is amazing. They get to spend time with their coworkers, and they get to decompress them about their day and just focus on being a teacher. We don't like to use them for supervision anymore, and we have to. So.
Also, the cafeteria tables themselves. I know when we looked at that last year, they were old. And listen, I know there's a lot of bad things in life that happen to people. But there's nothing, I shouldn't say nothing. But those things that mash your finger.
Oh, they were horrible.
It's the
they
worst.
Were bad. They were bad.
You just want to cry. Because I listen, I guarantee I know there's worse things in life, but man, those things are finger mashers.
There were scary things. I mean, they were, sometimes there was 12 tables. And all of them had their own personality. You had to know the trick for each table. So poor Kathy, who does an amazing job for our custodial staff, she had it figured out. But it scared me to death watching her every day. She'd have to pin one against the wall to get it up just right and to make sure it didn't come back down. And we really appreciate the fact that the money was in the budget this year, and we were able to get new tables, and you can lift these things with one finger. They come right up and stay up.
And to your point, you had 12 tables. We've expanded that to make this happen.
Yeah, we did.
Sometimes investments like that, it's a one-time expense. But as crazy as it sounds, you look at it ahead of time, around $25,000 to get those tables. They were just, the one chunk was old. For a few extra thousand, we got another. But just that few extra thousand, just the effect on instruction. Absolutely. To have a whole teacher back into an hour teaching is one thing, but then your kids not interrupted. Now, you guys do an amazing job with your lunch shifts, but I'm going to tell you what, you guys need to come down sometime and watch what Mrs. Bosler has going on. There's a reason I was at the high school. God, just get in line. Just shuffle them through. No, there is like a systematic, they have arrows, they can't backtrack, and you got to watch for collisions. I like to go down and watch them eat, but usually I'm a distraction. They're looking at me, and also you have to open milks.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And they have is it a dinosaur crunch? that they try new vegetables and they all sit there and they eat it together. Don't remember this at the high school.
I'll try that for our 8th graders today.
See how that goes.
See how that's
they might enjoy it.
Be well received, I'm sure.
Anything else for the greater good here?
No, very appreciative of our food service staff and everything that we have going on, and it has been a huge asset to have our one lunch shift.
I'm going to bring up one quick thing though,
Yeah.
and I know can't really squeeze it in the middle school, but years ago, and this is years ago, we went to that grab and go breakfast.
Correct. Yes,
That was a big deal.
it is a big deal, especially for some students. They're unable to eat breakfast in the morning at home for whatever reason, and we usually have that grab and go right after first hour, and we give them usually in between classes. Our students have 4 minutes in between first and second hour. They have 6 minutes. It allows them to get some food and that nourishment in their bodies to let their minds thrive.
Well, I know why they weren't getting breakfast. As a teenager, you're trying to sleep as late as you can.
Yes, that is.
And the way the traffic was,
Yeah.
you couldn't. But we fixed the traffic. We got it a lot better.
Yes.
So maybe more kids can get beforehand. So
Yeah.
they're still they're maximizers. So they'll set their alarms
They
just a
do
little later.
and they love grab and go.
Yeah.
They really do. Our turnout for grab and go is really good.
Don't have that so much with the first graders. That's the neat position. I get to see all the.
Yeah.
Man, they are really. They got the whole structure. At the end of the day, just you guys leave. That's not what happens at the Platte.
Our elementary principals are special people.
Yes, they are.
That's a-
Yes,
Our teacher, the whole
absolutely.
deal.
That's a
man.
whole different. That's a
I saw
whole
a
different
teacher
thing.
this morning hugging every kid in the classroom. I'm like, man, I wouldn't want them touching me. But anyway, listen, thanks for joining us. Thanks for what you guys do. And I just want to give kind of an insight of maximizing our tax dollars and everything we do, that sometimes it's not just about just because we need to replace things. We're truly looking to maximize our time that we have with the kids and everything we're doing here. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for what you guys do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.